What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dirty Shore Underground. Tonight we're going to get a little nerdy. Star Wars, Suicide Squad, probably mention other comic books. But before we get into it, go ahead, Rob.
Make sure you check out DirtyShoreUnderground.com. New episodes of the podcast every Thursday, bonus episodes every Monday or Tuesday. If you follow us regularly, you know that we have wrapped up our Walking Dead bonus episodes, but we have rolled right directly into our Fear the Walking Dead episodes. So all of those are available at DirtyShoreUnderground.com. Make sure you're following at DirtyShoreUG on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all the newest information, including links to the live stream. We are live streaming this and every podcast live on YouTube. That's youtube.com/C/DirtyShoreUG-OTA. And if you want to participate, this is our participant-heavy podcast. Make sure you just go over to or down to the comment section. When you make a comment, it'll pop up on the right-hand side, and you can ask questions or make your comments. Just keep in mind there's about a 40-second delay, so give us some kind of context about what you are making a comment about. And we'll start off right now by saying hi to Matt. Matt, friend of the show, Matt, welcome. So again, I guess we should give a spoiler. It has been a while, so if you haven't seen it yet, but we are going to be, we like to jump on things right as they're happening, which is why today, in April, we're talking about Star Wars The Force Awakens. But we are going to be talking about Star Wars and Suicide Squad and a bunch of comic books, so there might be some spoilers involved there. If you haven't seen any of the stuff that we're going to talk about, just hit mute, skip forward, whatever you want to do. Or go check out the thing that we're talking about and come back and listen to it later. And you can always catch up on old episodes at DirtyShoreUnderground.com. While you're there, make sure you click on over to the Amazon link on every single post and on the homepage. You'll be able to find a link to Amazon. Click that link there. It'll take you to Amazon.com. You can shop just like you normally do. But as a thank you to us for sending you to their website, Amazon gives us a little something. It's a great way to help out the podcast, help us update our technology, to keep the lights on, to keep the bandwidth flowing. So it's a great way to help us out. So while you're there at DirtyShoreUnderground.com, click on the Amazon link and do your shopping through Amazon. It costs you nothing, but it helps us out a lot. So thank you guys for all your support. So diving directly in, have you seen all of the rest of the Star Wars movies?
Yes.
So what's the delay in not seeing Force Awakens?
It didn't appeal to me. Like it probably should have. Just based off the trailer and things I heard, it sounded like basically the retelling of 4, 5, and 6, and then I watched it, and that's the way I felt the entire movie.
All right, so let's kind of analyze that a little bit. So, what is your overall take on the whole movie, the movie as a whole?
I mean, it's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, they did this already, and condensed it into one movie instead of 3.
Yeah. Well, and I suspect that there's going to be more to come, but I think one of the biggest, my biggest problems with it was, really, that's what it was. And you go into Star Wars knowing what Star Wars is. There are different character arcs, there are different storylines. We know that it is a space opera, so there is drama in a certain way, and it's always going to develop in that way. But guys, we can't come up with a better storyline than, here's the Death Star, and here's the hyper light drive. It's the Death Star, just much bigger. And here's the weak spot on the Death Star, and here's the weak spot on this planet. Like, literally it was just, the mission itself was played out exactly the same. And while Luke really just shot his torpedoes, or whatever, his photons, down into that tube to blow it up, this time, Poe actually went inside, shot, escaped. So much of that last battle was exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't an all-out attack, which I thought was a little weird too. Did you notice that there wasn't that many X-Wings in that attack on a planet?
Not
You
at
think they would have sent a few more troops? I don't know. So, I guess to backtrack a little bit, because the storylines aren't just the same there. We start out with a kid on a desert planet, and the name escapes me. What is Luke's planet?
I thought it was Tatooine, wasn't it?
Tatooine. Yeah, so he starts out on Tatooine. Now we're on Jakka. which, by the way, looks the same to me. Yeah, I mean, really, it could be the same planet. Now, Anakin from Episode 1 is very young. Luke from Episode 4 is what I would have guessed. I mean, I think he was in his 20s, but I think he was trying to play
Like 18.
late teens. And then we have Rey, who I would put a little bit younger than that. Probably like 15, 16, somewhere in there is where they want her to be. So the ages are different. But kid, desert planet. And when it comes to Anakin and Rey, they are both orphans who are kind of living this junkyard existence. And they owe their life to like some junkyard owner. Like, literally, it's the same goddamn story. I don't even know.
I think it's worse on us because we grew up on 4, 5, and 6.
Right. And I think if you were the first movie you saw, and here's what I tried to say. I mean, I talked to people who saw just 7. They've never seen anything else. And they loved it. And I'm like, as a standalone movie, I agree. It's great. Corey still hasn't seen it. He hasn't seen it.
I thought he actually went to see it.
No. So, I mean, as a standalone movie, it's good, but for those of us who saw 4, 5, and 6 in the 80s, and then saw 1, 2, and 3 in the 90s and 2000s,
Late 90s.
now we're seeing this, and it's like, hey, this is the same goddamn story. You're telling it again. And once Han gets involved, and there is some different parts. You know, like, we've never seen anyone fly the Millennium Falcon except for Han. Now Rey flies it. And they do a really good job of showing us that she knows the ship as well as he does. Like, she's playing with shit and makes it run well and all that stuff. But where do they end up? A cantina. On some deserted world at the edge of space where they are trying to contact somebody to get a ride. And, like, there isn't, like, a bunch of multi-eyed aliens going, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Otherwise, though, it's the same fucking place.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a weird woman with eyes. That's the only difference.
And I'm pretty sure there was a couple of aliens in there that looked like they were from 4.
Well, and that was an interesting point that I talked to somebody about. They said, and I didn't catch this, but the owner of that establishment had owned it for 1,000 years. So I think we have to live in a universe where some of those aliens might live for a long time. Mm-hmm. So it might just have been the same bounty hunters, the same like rogues that were in the cantina before, and they happen to be in this cantina. And in fact, I think that thinking about that, some of the stuff she talks about is she's seen everything. She saw it from before the Empire. She saw all of the Empire, and now she's seen the First Order, and none of it scares her.
And she had Luke's lightsaber. So.
And there's got to be. I think they took so much time to explain so many things, but how the fuck did she get Luke Skywalker's a lightsaber? How does that just end up in a box at this woman's place? I understand wanting to hide it away, but the randomness of wanting it to be there, and just I'm willing to suspend some disbelief.
And not even the green saber, it was the blue one, which was also Anakin's. So.
Yeah. Yeah, not the Return of the Jedi saber, but the one from Empire. And I guess the one that he got originally in New Hope, and then had to get in Empire. How the fuck does it end up there? She offers no explanation as to why she has it. She just says it was Luke's and his grandfather's before him. No, it's his father's before him, and now it calls out to you. Okay. But how the fuck do you have it on this back-asswards world? I don't know. But if you hadn't seen the previous ones, if you only knew that there was a person existed named Luke, and they set that up in the movie a little bit, that Luke had, in fact, I think the scene before, they talked about that, how Luke went off to the edge of the universe, and he wasn't talking to anybody, and he hid himself away. So I think that without knowing that, you're like, wow, that is awesome. Like, she found his light, so that's how they're going to go find him, right? The lightsaber's going to help. Nope, no help. And I thought for a long time that only Jedi could use lightsabers. But apparently not. Because
Finn picked it up.
Finn picked it multiple times and used it. So So aside from the judgments of the whole movie being basically a repeat of 4, 5, and 6, and in some ways 1, 2, and 3 as well, were there any individual things in there that you just had comments about?
I mean, the chick is cool. My belief right now, as of the end of the movie, is she's Luke's kid.
Okay, and I could tell you, because knowing the lore, that Luke has no children. So,
Just ruin it for me.
do you want to take a second guess on that?
The only other possibility would be Solo. Right?
Why would you? What? That it's Solo's kid?
Solo and Layla's.
But again, spoiler alert, just so it's out there. Kylo Ren is Leia and Han's child.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that Rey is their child as well?
Because the Force she started to feel the Force out of nowhere, much like
Right.
Anakin did
Right.
in the beginnings. So that was kind of.
So how did she get to Jakka?
I don't know. That's probably, if they explain it, it'll probably be in the next movie.
Yeah. So how much do you want me to spoil for you?
Do I care?
You don't.
Come on.
So now and again, who knows what they're going to do with the actual movie? Because basically, what George Lucas has said is there is a lot of really great stuff out there, and when he wrote 1, 2, and 3, he pulled some of the good stuff that was written and created the what do they call it? It's not dogma, but like canon. Canon is created by the originator. So Twilight, and I hate that I used an example, but Twilight is canon, just the books, and then the author will say, well, I read this really great fan fiction. And in fact, the girl who did 50 Shades of Grey got famous originally because she wrote fan fiction, and the writer of Twilight, whose name I can't remember, pointed out that this particular author writes really good fan fiction. And it felt to her as if it was kind of right in a line with what the story is. So she gets famous writing fan fiction, and then she writes this other thing called 50 Shades of Grey, and it takes off too. Which, by the way, sucks, and don't read it. Read Foe instead.
I don't even watch the fucking movie.
No, but Foe, which is the better version of both that and American Psycho, is available now on Amazon. Make sure you click through the Amazon link on dirtyshowunderground.com and check it out. Just search my name, Robert N. Cheek, and on Amazon you'll find it. But so if they adopt some of the non-canon material, Leia and Han have twins, and basically the same thing that happened to Leia and Luke happens to not Kylo Ren, Anakin Solo, and their daughter, where they say, if these two are together and they're raised together, they will overthrow the Force for the dark side, because one will be corrupted and will corrupt the other. You have to keep them separated so that when one gets corrupted, they can shift them away. So what happens in the non-canon material is that Leia assumes that the one that gets sent to Jakka will get corrupted. So she sends Anakin then to train with Luke so that he's ready to fight back against this coming darkness. And then it turns out that that's the child who turns to the dark side.
Because somehow he ended up with them. But, I mean, you can tell it, just based off that, it had to be one of their children.
And it may be something completely else, because there's another fan. So the reason we chose to do this today, for those of you who aren't now, I guess, getting to it 15 minutes in, the Rogue One trailer came out this week. And we had a chance to watch the Rogue One trailer. I guess cutting over to that for a minute, what were your thoughts about Rogue One?
It looks interesting.
Now, compare that to, we also watched the, because I know you said you weren't interested in Star Wars because of the trailers. So you watched the trailers for Star Wars afterward. Comparing that to the Rogue One trailer, what are your thoughts?
I think Rogue One's going to be a better movie. The stormtroopers are more my style.
More of the 1, 2, and 3 into 4?
The 4, 5, and 6 style.
Yeah, yeah. Rather than what we saw in Force Awakens, which is...
It just looked fake, the way it was done.
That's because it was always... There was a lot of... Plastic has come a long way. And... I mean, I guess really that's all it comes down to, is the The problem is the stormtroopers from 7 could actually probably go fight a war in their costume. The stormtroopers in 4, 5, and 6 could not. They could stand there, they could shoot, but it was really like armor the way that knights wore armor. It was thick, it was still plastic, but it was very thick. So in 7, they're like, well, we can actually make these guys be able to run around and do what we think that they should do, but then it makes it look kind of fake. And, I mean, it's the kind of the thing that Batman, that Christian Bale's Batman, the Dark Knight Batman, talks about all throughout. That there's this constant give and take of, I couldn't even turn my neck, Alfred. Like, we have to do something about the suit. Because they do armor plating to make him bulletproof, but then he can't move. So then they break up the plates and he gets stabbed through one of the plates. And then it's like, okay, so we have to find some kind of balance. And I feel like in a way that's almost what's going on in Star Wars. Because they're saying, like, the old suits, which were only that way because that's all they had, just cast big portions. And now the plastic is super lightweight and they can move around a lot. I think that that scene, unfortunately, though, doesn't work. That first scene in the desert doesn't work if the stormtroopers can't move around as much as they can. It was kind of badass to see them, like, coming down on the the landing ships and come running off. We saw a little bit of that before, but in 1, 2, and 3, they just went total CGI with it. 4, 5, and 6, it was not as good because they're just, like, basically marching. They really came out of those landing ships and, like, hit the dirt and they start firing and they're taking cover and stuff, so it's the stuff you want to see. But, yeah.
I give them a lot of props for not switching to C-3PO and R2-D2, whoever, to CGI in this movie, too. Still humans inside them.
Well, and I was going to say, I think that Abrams said that he wanted to do as many practical effects as possible. A lot of that stuff was really blowing up, too. And they had the benefit of being, at least in that one desert scene, in the desert, so you can go out in the middle of nowhere in Algeria, I think is where they were, or Tunisia, and blow stuff up. But, so, getting back off topic, but getting back to Rogue One. So you compare the trailers for Force Awakens to Rogue One, and you think Rogue One's going to be a better movie. You like the Stormtroopers, so you get that.
I don't know. I'm still hoping to see a return of Darth Maul. His death was never confirmed, and he was... Next to Darth Vader, he was super badass.
Have you seen the Darth Maul fan movie?
No.
Oh my god, we should have watched that before we got started. There is like a 19-minute long Darth Maul fan movie that they made. It's his backstory, his whole backstory. So we might have to do a little bonus episode about that, let you watch it, and then have you react to that. Because you might like... the guys were on Big O and Dukes. The guys who did it were on Big O and Dukes. And we're just fans. And we figured that he needed more story time. And sorry to disappoint you, but he's not going to appear in Rogue One.
That's fine, but
yeah.
I still got to have the hope.
Well, so you should check this out, because they said once they announced that he would not appear in any other movies ever, they said, well, we're going to go make our own. And they spent like a shit ton of money to make a movie quality, like 19-minute short movie. It's really good, so you have to watch it. But
I still think it was a big mistake for them to kill him off as quick as they did.
And give him no lines, and I mean, here's the thing, I get why they did, because you need to move the story in a certain direction. And we need Anakin to be who we need him to be. And we need him to be trained by who we need, and so there needs to be deaths along the way to kind of push the story that way. But I agree. I think that he was a great, one of the great characters who didn't get his due. And from what I understand, a lot of him ended up on the cutting room floor when they shot the movie. There could have been more of him in the movie, and they turned him into a monster when he really is he's a man, not a man, but he's a person who has this whole in-depth story that they didn't really get into. So, it's unfortunate, but you know who I hear might make an appearance, though, in Rogue One? Another Darth.
Vader? Oh, but between
3 and 4.
Or 3 and 4, that's a real good possibility.
So, here's the problem. In 3, he's played very briefly by, what's that guy's name? He plays Anakin Skywalker. So, when Anakin Skywalker,
gets his shit chopped up by Obi-Wan right at the last moments of the movie.
Well, yeah. So like in the last 12 minutes, it's him getting cut up. Hayden Christensen. Hayden Christensen. Um, is rumored to appear, or he played Darth Vader in 3, and then in 4 we saw a guy who we never saw his face, but he was voiced by James Earl Jones, and then in 5 we saw the egg that kind of like opened up, and we saw that the guy inside was mutilated, and at the end of Return of the Jedi we see that he is he looks a lot like Obi-Wan, like it's just a bunch of white guys hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you get to play Darth Vader?
I don't think it matters who's under the suit.
Just keep him in the suit the whole time?
Yeah.
But I mean, so like you don't have any moments where you take the helmet off?
Not if it's between 3 and 4, because obviously he's in there because he can't breathe for shit without it and everything.
Yeah.
All you need is the voice.
And who does the voice?
I never remember his name. But
James Earl Jones?
But I know it when I see it because he was also in The Sandlot.
James Earl Jones. Yeah.
And he did a couple commercials for
yeah.
what 1-800-COLLECT or something, I think.
God, way back in the day. Yes.
Every time you hear it, it's fucking Vader.
That's the rumor is that they're gonna have Hayden Christensen play him, but have James Earl Jones do the voice. We are now in this period where an older Hayden Christensen, so he has the look, but the voice has become the voice that we hear later of Darth Vader. So. The more interesting thing will be trying to come back to Force Awakens. We see Kylo Ren talking to a busted up Vader helmet, and that is kind of left as a question mark at the end of Return of the Jedi. We don't really know what happens to Vader. We saw that his ghost appears, his spirit appears.
Yeah, his ghost was chilling with Obi-Wan and Yoda.
But I mean, does he die on the Death Star? Is that what happened? I mean, I guess the TIE Fighter went spinning out of control. I can't remember.
They burned it.
I saw 6.
They burned him at the end of the movie.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so long since I saw 6, I can't remember.
That's why the mask was melted, and then every time I seen it in the trailer, I'm like, why would it even still look that good? I think it'd just be like a ball of plastic.
Melted down? Yeah. Well, but, so, Rogue One, we are dealing once again with the Empire. So in episode 1, and that's gonna get fucking confusing, by the way. Episode 1, it's there's no Empire. There is the Galactic Republic, and there are the Jedi. There are the Sith, and then there is the consortium, economic consortium, whatever it is. The people that become the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of 3 movies, it becomes the Galactic Empire. What's left of the Senate is there, but for the most part, they become the rebels. So during 4, 5, and 6, we have the Empire and the rebels. So we have A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, all of which have the Empire and rebels. So then we come into Force Awakens, and for Rogue One is also Empire and the rebels. And there's a really... I don't want to call it a cute quote, but there is a quote during the Rogue One trailer where she's like, well, you're rebels, right? I rebel. And so I'm trying to figure out that.
We'll probably see baby Luke.
So the question is, I guess to get to that, who are we going to see? Well, before we get to that, let me finish. So, and then in Force Awakens, we have the First Order and the Resistance and the government. And it's kind of unclear about what's going on with everybody. They've kept the timelines in place so that 30 to 40 years has passed between the last thing that we saw and the first thing that we see in Force Awakens. So, I guess what I would really like to see is a movie in between there to explain what happened. And there's a lot of those animated movies, and I don't know if that fully explains. One of the animated movies is actually from about the same time as as Rogue One. So we'll have to see. But I would like a little more explanation about where did the fuck did the First Order come from? How is it that they're still operating? All that
Why
stuff.
did Luke decide to disappear?
Right. Although, to be fair, that might all be explained in 8 and 9, too. We might flash back and see.
first half an hour of 8 is going to be them telling us why Luke disappeared.
Well, we did see a little bit of it when Rey mind melded with Kylo Ren or whatever it was. She saw the that plane that was just covered with bodies, and Luke and Ren were the only two standing there. So obviously something bad happened. I imagine it's going to be along the lines of Anakin's purification of the Jedi Temple. Master Anakin.
That was some shit.
Which, by the way, is that the same lightsaber that Luke gets later and not Rey has? The one that killed all the kids? The same one, right?
Mm-hmm.
The blue one.
Yep.
Interesting. It's got a lot of bad juju attached to it. Anyway, so who are you thinking that we might see in Rogue One? Because here's it, we won't see Luke, because Luke hasn't showed up yet.
Yep.
He's still over on Tatooine doing whatever it is he's doing. Leia,
and possibly a little bit younger than what he is now, or was before.
Unless they find a reason to go to Tatooine. I mean, it might be like an off comment or something, you know?
Maybe have it like open up where they're dropping the baby off or something.
Or they see, yeah. Well, I was gonna say well, no, because Rogue One happens 5 years before, or no, just before what happens in New Hope. Because in New Hope they talk about how, so, Rogue One. The entire story of Rogue One is based on a single line of dialogue from A New Hope. Where they say, I can't remember the name of the planet. Mon Mothma is the woman. Maybe it's Mothma? But there is a line where someone says, a whole lot of somebody died getting this information. When they're talking about the plans for the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
This entire movie is based on that one line of dialogue. They're saying, okay, how did they get the plans for the Death Star? Bloop. And apparently there was a mission in one of the games that was assisting Jane Oso? Can't remember. Oh, so it's set just before the events of A New Hope and 5 years after Star Wars Rebels, which was 2014. That was the animated movie. And the animated movie was a few years after the end of the 2003 movie.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah. So, Jan Ors was a character in Star Wars Dark Forces in 1995. Take it back to 95. And the first mission of the game is to help Jan and a different character recover the plans for the Death Star. So, it's basically the same storyline from the game, and this one line of dialogue, and now they've made an entire movie about it.
Super Nintendo days.
Yeah, I was going to say, what the fuck were you playing
PlayStation was just coming out.
So it probably was
PlayStation came out in Japan in 94 and it hit the US market in 95.
So that had to be it. It had to be a PlayStation. Because I can't see it being on Nintendo or Sega or anything 8-bit. It would have had to have been like that first PlayStation engine with like Tomb Raider and all that stuff.
32-bit.
Yeah. God. How far we've come now. Some of the shit we can play. Especially now that you play a Star Wars game where like you can have different
basically
powers.
Looks like the movie.
Yeah, where it's basically the movie that you're controlling the character in. But anyway, so this one line of dialogue from A New Hope turns into Rogue One. So unless they go to Tatooine, they're not going to see Luke. Because he is about the right age, and he seems pretty ignorant of what's going on out in the universe. So my guess is that we're not going to see him in there. Leia, however, is deeply involved in the Resistance, because she's the one who records the video along with the plans.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my question. How the fuck do you get a young Leia in that movie?
Maybe.
CGI. It's gotta be CGI.
Yeah, they could CGI it and use her voice still because she still sounds the same.
She does sound. That was another thing. I was writing while I was listening, and some of the talking between Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, you would not know that they'd aged at all. Their voices sound exactly the same as they did in '77.
And a little sidebar to that. You know how both me and Brandon, 4 days before the finale of Walking Dead, listened to the 10-minute audio?
Listen to the audio.
I'm sitting here watching a movie last night, and I'm like, Solo and Layla together again. He's like, shut up, dude, I ain't seen it yet. I was like, what? You listened to 10 minutes of Walking Dead 4 days before it came out.
And so, I do want to say something. So, Star Wars was the first movie that I saw no spoilers for. People weren't even putting spoilers out there. And that was hard. Deadpool was the second one. So we had two kind of back to back, where people were just like not putting spoilers out there at all. And my question, I guess what I'm wondering is whether that's going to continue to happen for Rogue One. Because I think there was so much build-up for Star Wars that even after it came out, people were like, we're just not going to talk about it. We're going to give everybody a couple of weeks to talk about it. And then if I saw no memes, I saw nothing.
I did.
Did you see a meme?
I seen probably like 6 of them in reference to Luke with the last scene of the movie.
But you didn't know it was the last scene of the movie.
Yes, I did, because remember we did that one podcast where right after it came out and Harry had went and seen it?
Right.
And I said something.
Other than him spoiling it, though,
but
you would not know.
He told no, but the meme was best hide and seek player ever or something like that.
Well, and see, that's the thing is that like by seeing that without seeing the movie and not talking to anybody, it wouldn't give anything away. What I was expecting is to like have Han with the lightsaber through his chest as a meme the day after. But then I realized everybody who's making memes are fans of Star Wars, so they're not going to do that. Everybody's kind of left it out. To the point that I feel that in April, 5-6 months later, we still need to give a spoiler alert because people probably haven't seen it, and if they're going to see it, I mean, it's on. By the way, it's on Blu-ray, it's on DVD. I got it from a Redbox. There is no excuse not to have watched it now. It's on Redbox. Just go get it. It's really good. Just go get it.
I know I'm buying Deadpool when it comes out May 10th. And I'm going to sit through the gag reel, and the deleted scenes, and the extended scenes, and then we're probably going to talk about all the shit that should have been in the movie to begin with.
Well, so, and Deadpool was the second one, though, where even after it came out, there was no memes, there was no nothing, and we joked about it the week before that really all of the scenes came from that one scene on the highway. Turns out most of the movie happened on that one stretch of highway, but, you know, I don't think the trailers gave away anything. Force Awakens gave away so much from the movie, and I guess it remains to be seen if they've done that with Rogue One, but it's also not a J.J. Abrams movie, and it's the first one that the guy who usually does the music is not doing the music for. So it's going to have a whole different look. It's going to have the guy who directed it is actually the director from Godzilla 2014. So, whole different look, whole different sound. It'll be a Star Wars movie. The trailer shows you at least that it has the kind of a feel of it, but it'll be a whole different experience. And I think that it bodes well. Like, let's leave all of the 9 kind of the same look, the same feel, so that you can sit down for however long it would take you.
2 fucking days now.
I was going to say, if you get the director's cut of all of the original 6, those are close to 3 hours apiece. Mm-hmm. So, Jesus Christ. So,
about 2 days.
9, 18, and let's assume that holds true, it will be way more than a day. Yeah, that is insane. So if you sit and watch the director's cut for 2 days, you'll get the same feel all the way through. But when you watch Rogue One, it'll have a different feel. And when you watch the Young Han Solo movie, it'll have a different feel. And the other 3 that they have planned that are anthology, standalone movies, they'll all have a different feel. And I think that's probably a good thing. So
I think the Force Awakens trailer should have never showed Han or Chewie. But at the same time, I get why they did it.
Yeah.
Because that draws our attention.
Yeah.
Fans of 4, 5, and 6.
Well, and I think we wanted to know when it was set. And by having those people in it, it shows you, okay, it's not too long after what you've seen. We're not doing what they did in the first movie, which was, in the third movie, we found out that they jumped pretty far from Anakin's creation as Darth Vader to the end. All of Luke's lifetime, basically, is jumped until he's 18. So, or 20 or whatever he's trying to play. So I guess technically they jumped further this time because it looks like I said everybody's about the same age, but
they said it was 30-some years or something. Like
yeah,
that.
so I guess they did jump further, but it didn't have the feel that they went further because everybody is kind of doing the same thing they were doing at the end of the last movie, except for Rey wasn't born. I guess Kylo Ren wasn't born either, but
He was a bitch through the entire movie, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Every time he took the mask off, I'm just like, put it back on, because now you just look like a little bitch. I don't get why they have to have long hair as they're in bad guy mode.
I've got some comments on the guy who plays Kylo Ren.
He looked real girly.
I think they could have chosen somebody else. I think he had the voice for Kylo Ren.
With the mask on or with the mask off?
Both. Because part of Vader's whole thing was he sounded like an absolute badass with the respirator on. But that one moment when the egg's dropping and you hear him talking, you're like, God, he sounds kind of like a bitch. And you realize that this is all intimidation. It's all meant to do that. If it's not enough that I can look at you and drag you across the room to choke slam you, I have to intimidate you with my voice and everything else. But you want him to have a different voice when he's like, but the look was a problem. His ears and the hair and the whole thing. I'm like, I don't buy you. I don't buy you as Kylo Ren. So,
and you could tell he was still a newbie because when Finn picked up the lightsaber, he held his own for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
As where Darth Vader would have just ended him in 2 fucking seconds.
Right. By the way, do you know the Easter egg about the moment that Rey escapes from the shackles?
No.
Does the voice... So you know what I'm talking about. So she's in there, and Kylo Ren has done his mind meld with her. And then he leaves, and he says, I'll be back. And then she looks over her shoulder at the guard and says, you will release my shackles and leave the door unlocked. Did that voice of the stormtrooper sound familiar to you?
No.
Daniel Craig from 007, James Bond, played that particular stormtrooper. And if you go back and listen, you can absolutely hear it. You can tell it's actually his voice. So it's kind of crazy. But, Rogue One, looking forward to it. You gonna go see it?
I probably won't go to theaters to see it, but
Not that excited.
I'll see it when it comes out. Deadpool was definitely worth one seeing because it's a movie I've been waiting years for.
Right. But are you on the fence with Rogue One? Like, if you see a trailer and it knocks your socks off, or is it just it'll never get you there?
Hey, if I got the chance to go and was able to go, yeah.
If it turns out that Felicity Jones is naked in a scene, would you go? It's the main actress who plays in Rogue One.
Well, I mean, we can find that for free online.
Sure, fair enough.
But no, I mean, like with Deadpool, you know, because I followed the comics and everything so closely. It's got to be something that pulls me in, like Deadpool did.
Right.
To just say, fuck you, I'm going. So
then, episode 8, you're not going to go see either.
No.
In the theater.
I mean, because 7, I was just like, I'll see when it comes out.
And you didn't until today.
Well, I've been on the fence about it for 3 days, and then because we didn't know what we were going to talk about tonight,
right?
We said, hey, let's do Star Wars since it was just
Rogue One
released.
came out. Yeah.
And that's how that happened. I was trying to wait for it to be available to rent on demand.
Yeah.
But Comcast, I bet I'll go on there tomorrow and it'll say available to rent.
Probably.
Like, you motherfuckers.
So, from that to another movie, which you probably will see in theaters. How about Suicide Squad? Are you gonna go see that in theaters?
I might.
You're still on the fence with that too?
I am. If I go see it, it's for Harley Quinn, so.
By the way, that fucking scene where she's getting dressed and everybody stops.
I gotta find that fucking meme real quick. I don't think I reposted it to Facebook. I think I sent it to Brandon.
So we've talked in previous weeks about the Suicide Squad movie, and we had some concerns. You didn't see Batman vs Superman.
Nope.
Batman v Superman.
Did
I
you?
did, and I liked it. And my argument has always been that DC is a darker. It's not meant to be funny. Marvel is the funny comic, or is the funny comics, and Deadpool is one of those things. And we heard a lot about reshoots for Suicide Squad, but new trailer dropped at the MTV Video or Music or something awards, and it was obviously not recut, so it's from the original shooting, even if they did some reshoots. It had some jokes in it. It was funny and lighthearted, and I liked it, and all the concerns I had about Suicide Squad are gone. And it looks like they're building a universe, which would be fantastic. It's what they should do, because they're talking about Superman, and they're talking about Batman, and clearly it's Affleck's Batman in there as well. So, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, but there is a scene in that trailer where they're out in the desert and they're gearing up, and Harley Quinn has a outfit that is the same one you saw in trailer number 1, the like the baseball tee and the shorts. And as she's getting dressed, everybody just kind of stops and stares at her, and she like wiggles herself into it, and then like, what? When she looks around, it's freaking hilarious. So. I actually laughed at several of the points of the trailer. I think it's much funnier than Batman vs Superman was, which is kind of the intention. But again, DC is not meant to be funny. It's a very serious. It's got serious tone. It's got a serious everything. So
Not with everything, because Brandon did tell me himself that Suicide Squad was meant to be funny when they did that in the comics.
some of the stuff. If you were to compare any Suicide Squad comic to any Deadpool comic,
Did you
they're
see
always
that,
going to be
by the
funnier.
way? Movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart.
What is it?
The new movie with Rock and Kevin Hart. Oh my
think
god, I
so.
gotta show you the trailer after we're done.
All right, so you had a chance to watch the new Suicide Squad trailer.
Yeah, we just watched it right before.
Right. Any thoughts? Any thoughts about the new trailer as compared to the other trailer?
It looks good. I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna go see it yet.
Right.
I might get there.
So we got a little bit better look at Jared Leto's Joker too.
I don't care for his Joker.
Really?
Really.
Why is that?
I don't know. There's just something about it. It's no Jack Nicholson,
It's not Jack Nicholson. It's not Heath Ledger.
who played an amazing Joker, by the way.
It's not Cesar Romero, either, the guy who played it in the television show.
You went way back on that one. And the original movie,
And the original
which
movie,
I was
yeah.
watching one night because I think it was on Netflix or something. And Karina was like, "What the fuck are you watching?" I was like, "A movie from the '70s you would have never seen."
The original Batman.
As goes with the original Spider-Man TV show, the Hulk TV show,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
other shit somebody her age would have never seen.
So, but he's playing it totally different, but you realize it's a different Joker too.
I know, it's always a different Joker.
No.
Every set.
This is a whole different Joker, though. Because remember, they're universe building. So, oh, you haven't. Oh,
Just
God.
explain it to me. It's
So,
fine.
okay, so you haven't seen Batman v Superman.
Nope.
So in Batman v Superman, Wayne Manor has been trashed. And I think what they're doing is they're kind of inkling that it's from when Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, burns it in The Dark Knight. Right? Was that it? Where Ledger burned the Wayne Manor? I can't remember. So, the Bruce Wayne has on display Robin's costume. And on it says like, ha ha ha, gotcha. And so it's on display. There is a storyline from the Batman comics that the Joker kills the second Robin, Jason Todd.
And that was actually the last Batman game that came out. They were talking about that because the original Robin became Nightwing.
Becomes Nightwing. Batman goes out and gets a new Robin, Jason Todd. Now, in the comics, they put it to a vote of viewers. Does Jason Todd live or die? And overwhelmingly, people voted for him to die. And the writers were so surprised. They were like, well, we got to come up with how he dies because we were thinking that they were going to save him. And they didn't. So Joker kills him. Well, in retaliation, Batman kills Joker. But it turns out that Jason Todd isn't really dead.
Yep, they played that off in the video game.
That
He
he
became the bad guy.
becomes the Red Hood, and the Red Hood becomes the new Joker. So that once he becomes a Red Hood, he loses his mind, he becomes a new Joker. So it looks like that might be what they're doing. That they're taking this turn where Jared Leto's Joker is Jason Todd, who was the Red Hood, who was Robin, and because Affleck is playing such an older Bruce Wayne, an older Batman, it makes it possible that that is what they're doing. And I would be really excited to see that. So the difference, though, is that Jason Todd's Joker was not like Heath Ledger's, not like Cesar Romero's, not like the original Joker. He was like a psychopathic killer and meth addict and a whole bunch of other stuff in the 70s. And so what he does, though, is there are occasions when he dresses in the purple, but he does it ironically, because he only does it for the psychological damage it does to Batman, not because he likes the clothes. So in all the scenes of the trailers we've seen thus far, we have only seen him in the purple only in this trailer. Usually he's shirtless with all the tattoos and stuff. And if you slow down on one of the the first trailer, you see a tattoo of a Robin escaping a cage on his shoulder, which everybody says that's his sign that it's in fact Jason Todd. So, Flash has joined us. Flash, welcome. Thank you for watching. Flash says that's also a Batman Begins storyline. It's common amongst obviously for the repeat storylines, but yes, there are multiple storylines where Jason Todd dies, which is why in Heretics or the Anthem production we use Saint Jason because he is in the Batman universe. Speaking of which, Heretics will debut this Friday at otheanthem.com. We're very excited about that. So, the next day after this post, you'll be able to go check out Heretics. If you want to see it ahead of time, the easiest way to do that is to go to patreon.com, patreon.com/otheanthem. Become a subscriber, become a donator and a supporter, and you can actually get early access to all the stuff that we have, including early access to Heretics, which will be up on Friday. So that's pretty good. Patreon.com, make sure you check that out. It's a great way to support the digital network of which this podcast is a part. Another great way to support this podcast, though, is to head on down to, as you blow a big cloud in front of my face, head on down to Oasis Vapor in Denton. That's at Oasis Vapor on North 6th Street in Denton. It's in the big red building between the Burger King and the McDonald's, right off of 404, the exit for 616 and 313. You can't miss it. Go in there during the week and say hi to Nate. Come in on the weekend, say hi to Kenny. For all of the, we get a lot of support from the guys down there, and we really appreciate everything that they do for us. Whether you are just trying to quit smoking like me, whether you are starting, whether you are getting into the vape lifestyle like Kenny has been, or whether you are pushing big clouds like a lot of the people that we know, Harry, JC, everything that you can do, that you need is available at Oasis Vapor, including they are one of 25 stores in the entire nation that carries the Rogue Mod. So if you want to buy anything anywhere,
this pretty little thing right here,
this wonderful thing here
that I need to polish again.
But so if they have limited edition stuff there, they have their own house juices. They have all the juices that you could want from any of the other major producers. So head on down to Oasis Vapor, check them out, let them know you heard about them on our podcast. And Flash reminds me that merchandise is also available. We are working on Dirty Shore merchandise as well. So look for that in the future. But for right now, we have O The Anthem merchandise available at otheanthem.com. Click on the O The Anthem store at the top. Another great way to support the podcast. So we talked about Star Wars, talked about Suicide Squad. Is there any other movies coming up that you've seen? Any trailers for recently?
Now, you said Ben Affleck is playing an older Batman.
Yeah.
Now, they were talking about him getting his own trilogy.
No, well, Suicide Squad is part of his trilogy.
Is it?
He's got 3. So Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and a standalone Batman movie. He's also contractually obligated to the Justice League movies. So he will be Batman for the foreseeable future.
That good with Batman. I'm assuming that.
I liked him as Batman.
So with that in mind, because we've all been waiting to see Batman Beyond happen for fucking years now.
Yeah.
with him playing an older Batman, do you think that could happen at some point in one of the movies?
Something makes me suspect that that's why they chose an older person to play.
I mean, the technology's there now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think what they want to do is they want an older Batman. They wanted... Now, Batman v Superman didn't do very well. So, it's... I think if it had been knocked out of the park, it would have been setting up for all of these other things that they could have done. We'll see how the rest of the DC universe progresses. I mean, obviously, Aquaman's coming out, Flash movie, Cyborg movie, Wonder Woman movie first, and then Justice League, and then the Aquaman movie and the other two. But
I think it was hard for any of them to do well coming out right after Deadpool, because Deadpool fucking hit it right out of the park.
And it set a tone because now people are looking for funny, and not all comic book movies are funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could do an R-rated movie, comic book movie, and not really be funny.
That's true. You could do that.
No, I have not seen Batman vs. Superman.
He has not seen Batman v Superman. But I think that the inkling at the beginning was to get an older Batman just to do that. Because there's a whole offshoot of not even doing a full movie. Do a TV show. I mean, because you know DC loves their TV shows. Batman Beyond as a TV show?
A live-action TV show, not a cartoon movie.
Yeah. And I mean, really, you have Affleck show up for episode 1, and then he makes special appearances later on, because really it's about...
Yeah, because in the cartoon, the old Bruce Wayne was always there. He was always in his ear talking to him, helping him out with the new Joker gang and all that bullshit.
But we never saw him. We did. But only occasionally did you ever see him. And he was the older Bruce Wayne. So really...
It would work as a TV show.
You shoot the whole thing, and then you have Affleck go into the studio and do voiceover for what his parts were of the conversation.
Almost like with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you see Samuel L. Jackson like once a season.
And that's exactly what you could do for Batman Beyond. So listen, DC, if you haven't thought about that yet, give us a call, give us a contact. We got great ideas for movies just like that. So, anything else you're excited for this week?
New Green Arrow episode?
Oh, good God. Yeah, I still got to catch up on that.
See, once you catch up on it, you'll be like, God damn it, you were right.
Yeah, we'll just have to watch it.
Get to season 2, you'll be good.
I have to watch it and see. I'm going to have to start from the beginning. So, Flash says there's also a new Batman comic book series that I can't think of the name of. That it's all kids that run around controlled by Bruce Wayne, which I think is supposed to be Wayne. I wonder if you're talking about Teen Titans. Because I think they rebooted Teen Titans. Not the cartoon.
I heard about a live-action reboot of that.
Yeah, that would be nice. I always was a fan of the original Teen Titans cartoon. Not the new one that's like more for kids, but the original one. I did like that. And I think it would work as a live-action. And keep in mind, Cyborg, who's in Teen Titans, is getting his own standalone movie. So... maybe there's something there that they're trying to move their way out.
So who plays Cyborg?
Oh, shoot. I don't know. Who does play Cyborg? Have they cast it yet?
No, I'm saying we should run down a list.
Well, who would you have play Cyborg? I would honestly pick Will Smith, just seeing him as Deadeye. Mm-hmm. I think he would play Cyborg really well, because honestly there's two characters... Deadshot. What did I say?
Deadeye.
Yeah, Deadshot. Because I think those characters are kind of similar, but...
You know who I wouldn't mind seeing? And this is like completely fucking biased, but I think Tony would play a good Cyborg.
Okay.
I mean, because he doesn't look old at all. He stays in great shape.
Yeah.
So just to like wrap something on him, or just do like a green suit over top of him.
So they have mentioned a guy named Ray Fisher for Cyborg.
No.
He's the rumor.
No.
He's the rumored actor who's going to play Cyborg.
Because Cyborg had muscle even in Teen Titans.
Well, so he apparently was in a Muhammad Ali stage play. And he's been in a couple things where he had to... do you know when the Cyborg movie is due out?
No.
2020! And I was like, God damn, that's far away. But then I realized it's 4 years from now. It is not that far away. Jesus Christ.
And time goes quick nowadays.
Yeah, so there's... I mean, he puts on some muscle. He could play the part. But again, I think Will Smith would have been a better choice for that now.
Or The Rock.
Maybe The Rock.
I don't know why he called him Rock. He dropped that so
Dwayne
long
Johnson.
ago.
Dwayne Johnson. But anyway, so we got a lot more comic book stuff. Obviously, you'll be able to catch that always here on the Dirty Shore Underground. Do you have anything else this week?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right, so you can always check out new episodes of the podcast every Thursday, bonus episodes every Monday or Tuesday. All of those are always available at dirtyshoreunderground.com. Make sure you are following at Dirty Shore UG on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's the place you can get all the most updated information. And, of course, that includes links to the live stream, which is always available at youtube.com/C/DirtyShoreUG-OTA, where you can come and be part of the podcast. So if you're catching this on record, sometime when you're watching it on demand or listening to it on demand, keep in mind that if you're following us, you can join us right here and become part of the podcast. Get a shout out and get a mention.
I wonder if that ever confuses anybody.
What, that
just because they hear us talking to somebody. So, I mean, that's another reason we obviously have to keep mentioning it, because everybody can join in and do this with us.
Always can.
Everybody can be like our special guest.
If you're following on Twitter, you can always be a part of the podcast. That's the best part. You can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com for all the information about me, my political blog, everything that I've got going on, including links to my books, which are available on Amazon, as I said earlier. While you're over there on Amazon, before you go, click through that link at dirtyshoreunderground.com to our Amazon link to give us a little snippet back from them. But make sure you join my mailing list there, and everything else that I have going on is all available at robertncheek.com. Anything else?
Buy Rob's books.
Thank you. Yeah, so until Sunday, we will be back Sunday with a review of Fear the Walking Dead. Make sure you join us for that. New episode of that will come out for your viewing pleasure on Monday. Until then,